Hey guys, how you going? This is BillyEatWorld again, and today we're going to talk about my favorite Battlefield game mode by a mile, Rush. And the reason for that is because it'll actually be making a return to Battlefield 5 with Tides of War Chapter 2, which actually launches later this month on, if you've watched my last video, maybe as early as the 16th of January. So what's the problem? Well, two things. Firstly, DICE are rotating game modes in BF5, and Rush is apparently going to be one of them. And secondly, it looks like they're going to change the format around. And so that's what we're going to get into today. And spoiler alert, why I think the current plan DICE has for Rush is a really bad idea. Alright, so to kick off, what is it about Rush that makes it so good in the first place? Well, in a nutshell, it's a lower player count, linear objective-based game mode. And basically, for those of you who haven't played it before, that makes it kind of like Frontlines, except one team is always attacking, the other is always defending, and there's no sector cap points, it's all just MCOMs. What that means is that also like Frontlines, it's less busy and more predictable than Conquest, meaning you're not going to get shot in the back quite as often. And the most important thing, I think, is if you're a good player with a good squad, well, it's a lot more tactical, and almost like an American football team, you can come up with plays to outsmart the enemy team. So why do we even need Rush if Frontlines is so similar? Well, I actually made a video about this, which I'll link in the description, but basically it's because Frontlines is having some real issues right now. And one of the main things I said in that video is that I really think with the way things are at the moment, once Rush finally does make it into BF5, people are going to split off and play that instead. Which I think is probably the main reason DICE are apparently going to be rotating game modes to avoid, like what we've seen in the past, splitting the player base between too many modes. And so apparently Rush is only going to be in the game for the duration of Chapter 2, which is like only till March, and there's no information yet on whether or not it'll return at a later date. So obviously I've got an issue with that, because not only is Frontlines, like I said, on the verge of being broken at the moment, Rush is one of the classic Battlefield modes. And I know Frontlines is meant to fill that gap, but at the end of the day, it doesn't, because it is a lot faster paced, and it's a lot more grindy at the same time, which kind of sucks. Not just that, but I mean, Frontlines is the kind of mode where you get basically one shot to try out a particular strategy, and then the objective changes and you're instantly on the back foot. Whereas I think Rush gives you a lot more time to lay out a proper plan, and if it doesn't succeed, well, you can keep chipping away at it in a way that you just can't do in other modes. Also, just before I give you guys my final opinion on all of this, I should mention that the other thing outlined in the Tides of War roadmap from a few months back is that Rush is apparently going to have bombs and not MCOMs. And once again, this is a case of, if it's not broken, don't fix it, right? Especially considering, if you'll remember, they had to replace bombs with MCOMs in Frontlines just after launch because they basically broke the mode. Now, this isn't the first time DICE have messed with the Rush format. I mean, back in Battlefield 1, they introduced the artillery feature, which I think just about everybody thought it didn't need. And so, I mean, sure, part of me wants to see what Rush with bombs would look like, but please, DICE, this is another ball game entirely. Rush isn't a classic mode for no reason. People love it for the way it already is. So, to finish up, needless to say, I think if DICE are going to introduce rotating game modes, then in March, they should let it be a community decision as to whether or not Frontline should be the one to go instead. And I know this is something that DICE would possibly consider, because I had a really great chat with BF5 producer Ryan MacArthur the last time I was in Sweden, and he said ultimately Tides of War is going to be shaped by what we as a community want at the time. But as for changing the game mode, I mean, I really think they need to learn from the past and realise that it was games like Bad Company 2 and Battlefield 3 that set the benchmark on what Rush should be. And not just that, most importantly, I hope they remember that in those games, a lot of effort was put into the maps to make them fit linear style modes, and I really hope that happens again in Battlefield 5. But anyway, guys, that just about wraps up this video, so make sure you let me know what you think about these changes to Rush in the comments section down below. And also, if you're a big fan of this mode, please share this video around and make your opinion known, because we're running out of time to convince DICE to change their original plan. As always though, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and please feel free to check out the links in the description if you want to see any more of these videos. And don't forget, you can find my Twitter and Discord links down there as well if you want to keep in touch. And as always, until next time, see you later and have a good one.